Well, Declan, almost ready to go again, 2021. Putting, I suppose, the disappointment of 2020 behind us and moving on. Strange sort of a format now with the league starting this weekend, 4 teams in your group and then straight into championship. Has it been difficult, given the fact you haven't been able to get together for a long time this year either?
Yeah,
getting things together.
it has, Charlie. We're just back basically 3 weeks, and as I say, getting ready now for Tyrone Saturday night, and this game then it's Monaghan, then Armagh, so it is many Ulster Championship. But listen, from our point of view, it's just great to be back playing. It's been a difficult. The first lockdown, probably when you go back 12, 13 months, probably a bit of a novelty, and getting your head around it. You didn't know from week to week what was going on, but I found definitely, I think, and chatting to a lot of the lads, the last one from January, February, March were tough months, to be quite honest. We were meant to get back at the end of January and meant to get back probably maybe in February. Then I was put back out to the 19th of April, so it was difficult. But no, the lads have done a huge amount of work, and as I say, we're really looking forward now to the start of competitive action.
Yeah, you described it quite rightly in there as a mini Ulster Championship, because you've got 3 really tough games coming up against Tyrone, Monaghan and Armagh, and then you're straight into championship. So how do you approach the league things psychologically, in terms of, because people will judge you on what happens in the championship, Declan?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it's always been, Charlie. And we've always taken the league seriously. Previous years you'd always have your McKenna Cup. You come back in, you have your 6 weeks, you go into your McKenna Cup. You normally have 3 or 4 matches played before you go into a National League campaign, and you have a fair idea where the lads are at. The lads are getting up to game speed, and that's probably the most difficult aspect, because when we go back now, we'll know probably more on Saturday evening around 7 o'clock where a lot of lads are at. It's one thing training here, but it's competitive action now, and it'll be a really competitive match, no doubt about it. Tyrone are under new management. There'll be an extra freshness there, but it's going to be competitive anyway. It's a Northwest Derby and 2 real local rivals. So yeah, really looking forward to it, and to see exactly where these guys are at now. And as I say, these games are going to come thick and fast.
Yeah. If we were talking in normal circumstances, you'd probably be saying to me, retaining Division 1 status and winning the Ulster Championship would be the first 2 goals of the year. I suppose that doesn't change.
It doesn't change, Charlie, but the approach that we've always taken is that we want to take every game as it comes, because what the way in the condensed season it is. You're right, we have, I think, 1 week break basically between the end of the league and going into the start of a preliminary Ulster Championship match. So there's a lot of stuff that'll happen in terms of knocks and injuries, and players finding form and stuff like that there. But we're hoping to, as I say, that over the next number of weeks we can build up towards. Naturally, the championship is priority, but from our point of view at the minute, it's next Saturday night, and it's 5 o'clock against Tyrone, and getting the performance in there that'll get us 2 points.
Yeah, and squad wise, you mentioned Eamon Doherty's decided to step away from the county scene at the moment. Apart from him, everyone else is staying, and you're bringing back a few players who've been around the county scene and given great service. Took a break for one reason or another. Are you happy with the way things are?
Yeah, listen, suppose in an ideal world you'd have these guys back a bit earlier, and you'd have more work done. But it's not an ideal world we're living in at the minute. These guys have come back and say we've 3 weeks done there now, and they're finding their feet. They're getting back into it. But you can see the work that majority the group has put in over that period between January, February, March has been very, very good. They've come back in really, really good shape, and they put that work in. So listen, it's about getting up to match speed now, and as I say, we'll find out an awful lot on Saturday night with the start of our National League campaign, and right through the National League campaign when you get Monaghan and Armagh. We'll have a fair idea going into the championship then what that's going to look like.
Just focus on the Gador lads, McNeilis and Gillespie coming back. Proven at that particular level. We're missing for again one reason or another. And young McFadden Ferry coming back into the country this year as well, this month as well. Declan, big bonus to have those guys on board if they get up to speed.
Yeah, exactly. Huge players, and within the group, Owen's been away, and Owen McFadden Ferry has been in Lebanon, so he's just due back this week. And it's just going to take him a bit of time to get back up to speed. He's done a fair bit of work out there, and then you have Owen McNeilis and Kieran Gillespie, who are just finding their way back into it now, and have trained really well over the last number of weeks. So getting those guys ready now to go back into competitive action in the next few weeks.
Yeah, 2 men you missed badly at different times last year: Paddy McGrath and Stephen McMenamin, 2 top class defenders who you lost for vital games, Declan. And injuries take their toll on players, don't they?
They do. There's no doubt about that there. And again, the guys are in at the moment, they're training well, but there has been a number of setbacks in relation to a number of lads coming back in, and you're going to find that with a number of soft tissue injuries coming back in on the pitch collectively for the first time, as I say, and probably nearly 6 months. It's one thing, doing your own work at home and getting ready then, but when you do come back in, and I think every manager and every team has found that out over the last couple of weeks, it's just a short period to get ready, but luckily enough, nothing long term from our point of view, and as I said, the lads are all working away at the minute, but we're really looking forward, Charlie, getting back into competitive action. It's been so long, and even from a spectator's point of view now, even though they're not going to be there Saturday night, it's going to be great for those, and you can sense that both now that they're getting chatting about Tyrone, and we're not chatting about COVID and the trials and tribulations of what's going on there at the minute, but it's looking forward to a real good match on Saturday night now, where they can tune in on TG Card and watch it or listen to it on radio.
And two players that I know we've had high hopes of for the last couple of years, Michael Langan and Jason McGee. Again, they've been troubled by injuries. Huge players, if 100% fit, Declan. You'll be hoping that those two can be injury free this year. Yeah,
exactly. Listen, we were really tested last year in terms of the strength and depth of the squad. There's no doubt about that there. We did pick up a lot of, along the way. And again, it's the way the games are coming, it's fairly condensed. It's week in, week out now. Yeah. And there's not much time to recover, Charlie. And we're hoping that we can get a full bill of health going through the East National League, going into the Championship. But, in reality, that's probably not going to be the case. So, listen, we've got to be ready for that there. And but it's just trying to get the whole squad really up to speed now over the next number of weeks.
And one man I want to mention just finally in terms of players, Neil McGee's decided to stay for another year. How big a bonus is that for everybody involved?
Yeah, no, listen, Neil's huge part of, and has been a huge part of Donegal football now for well over a decade, and really looks after himself in really good shape, and has come back really in good nick and has trained well, and he's a real leader, and it's great to have him back, and we had the conversation shortly after, before it was just shortly after the Ulster final, and he was prepared to come back in and give it another year, Hank. But look, I'm really delighted to have him back on board, and he adds that bit of experience to it's a relatively still a young squad, apart from a couple of guys now in their 30s, but the majority of that team's still only in their 20, 23, 24, that age group. They're a young squad, but it's great to have that experience himself, and the likes of Michael Murphy and Paul Brennan, and those guys are really important.
And I think it was Ryan Fairhead alluded to it in terms of rotation now for the league. Is that going to be an important aspect, to see as many players as you can and give guys a wee bit of a break, with a view to the Championship coming so quickly? Yeah,
it's going to be about managing the players now. There's no doubt about that there. It's going to be managing the load of these players over the next number of weeks, and getting the guys game time, and at the same time being competitive. And there is competition for places. There's no doubt about that there. And it's about putting your hand up every day you get that jersey, and every night you come into training here in Convoy. It's about showing what you can do, and the effort and application, and all I can say at the minute, that's been very, very good over the last 3 weeks since we come back in.
Yeah. And final question, so many positives last year, Declan, but unfortunately it finished on a bit of a negative with that defeat in the Ulster final. Is that part now done and dusted? Let's move on, let's get that out of our minds and do better in 2021 perhaps?
Yeah, listen, there's no point dwelling too much. We had our debrief, we're not going to dwell too much on it, Charlie. These things happen in sport, and you just have to move on. On the day we're beaten by a better team, that's the bottom line. Cavan won it and deserved to win it, so we have to move on. Yeah, we take the learnings from it, but we can't get too caught up with it, to be quite honest. We have to move on now, and since we've come back on the pitch, it's about looking forward to this season, looking forward to the first match on Saturday night against Tyrone, and we're not looking past that.
Wish you well, Declan.
Thanks, Charlie.